This room is set in hollow square. It's currently set for 24. To set a hollow square, you look at the setup sheets to find the number the room is set for. You divide that number by 3 to get the number of tables you'll need. From that number of tables, you set as much of a square as you possibly can. We set 3 chairs per table. The setup needs to be centered both horizontally and vertically in the room. This is a classroom setup. It is currently set for 16. Normally our classroom setup is set with Monroe tables. These are set with 6 foots. We do this occasionally. General rules for classroom. We use 2 chairs per table. We try and space the tables evenly throughout the room. The number of tables is from the setup sheets again. You take the number the room is set for and divide by 2. Tables, we keep a center aisle between them and try and space them evenly throughout the room. This is conference style. It's currently set for 6. Conference style is a lot like hollow square. You take the number that needs to be set for, divide by 3 to figure out the number of tables. The difference is there is no hole in the middle like there is in hollow square. If there's a gap in your setup, you use a Monroe to fill in the holes. This is a row setup. This is our standard setup for rooms, and it's our most frequently used setup. To set row, you look at the occupancy of the room. This room, its max occupancy is 22. To set row, you'll figure out the nearest multiple of 5 that stays under the max occupancy. So for this room, we set for 20. We always use 5 chairs in a row. Our rows are 1 chair length apart. To set row with a wall up, you start the first chair next to the door. You'll set the row 1 chair length apart from where the wall is here. Scoot the chairs up and make the row straight. For the next row, you'll take a chair, scoot it back, and make sure that the next row is 1 chair length apart. The only other thing with row is that we set a head table in each room. It sits at the front of the room underneath the whiteboard. The wall down, setting rows a little bit different. We don't set from the wall by the door like we set in a normal row setup. We set from the air wall. There's an obvious difference here between the 2 setups. The room on the far side has been set with the wall up, so it was set from the wall by the door. This one was set with the wall down. We always set in front of the wall, so the other side will have to be fixed to be brought forward in front of the air wall to be even with this row. Otherwise, the same rules of setting row apply. To set dining in the ballroom, first thing you do is look at the sheets, find out what the count is for the setup. To get your number of tables, you divide that by 8. We set 8 chairs per table. Round up to the nearest number, so if it's 63.2, you use 64 tables. When you set up in ballroom, we always start in the middle of the room. If you're just doing a ballroom west setup, the middle of the room is the maroon stripe on the floor. If you are doing a grand ballroom setup, the middle of the room will be the entrance doors to ballroom west. We always set tables first, not chairs, in case there are spacing issues later. It's easier to fix if you don't have chairs down. We try and offset the count of the tables when we're figuring rows. So try not to do rows of all 4 or all 3. We try and do rows of 4-3, 4-3, or 3-2, 3-2, unless it's a really high count, and then you can set as high as you need to. When you're setting the tables, make sure the legs are all facing the same direction. The legs on these tables right now are going east-west, but you can also set them north-south as long as they are all consistent. Okay, so we have 3 rows of tables set down on the ballroom floor right now. As you can see, our tables are staggered. We have a row of 3 in the middle and 2 rows of 4 on the sides. We set rows 5 feet apart. So we have a PVC pipe in the ballroom west closet to check spacing. We check rows both diagonally and vertically between the rows. When you're setting a dining setup in the ballroom, if it has a stage or a podium, make sure you set that first and then fill the tables in afterwards, so that you can make sure all of the tables are in front of the podium or the stage so everyone can see. Also, if you are going to have the screens down in ballroom, make sure that there are no tables set underneath the screen so that everyone can see the screen. Once all the tables are set on the floor, you can start putting chairs around the table. We set the 4 cardinal points first and then fill in the diagonals around the table. You can't push the chairs all the way in or they won't all fit, so make sure they're spaced evenly around and back and far enough that all 8 will fit around the table.
Alright, this is a grand ballroom dining for 500 setup. We did rows of 4. And as you can see down the diagonals, the tables are in line and they are also in line down the vertical.